My name is Jake Saunders. I'm a co-owner here at Trailway Brewing Company. My background, I am a chartered accountant, hobby homebrewer. Started probably 8 or 9 years ago brewing beer. I'm currently the president of the New Brunswick Craft Brewers Association, and I take my beer brewing extremely seriously. Started making beer back probably 8 or 9 years ago as a university student. I'm an accountant, so I was fairly cheap, and I realized that making beer was a lot cheaper than buying beer. So that's kind of how it all started, and then the cost-cutting measures eventually turned into a very serious hobby, and here we are today. I was working office job. Tax seasons were never fun. A lot of the time I just found myself thinking about brewing and beer. Started brainstorming one day with Dan Mason, the other co-owner, in my kitchen during a New Brunswick Craft Brewers Association club meeting, and we determined that we gave away enough beer to friends and family that it might make sense to start selling a little. Within about a week, we were buying equipment, and the rest is history. We opened a brewery out of my basement and started selling to a few restaurants around town, and eventually we moved into this new space. We came up for the name for Trailway. It's mostly just based on Fredericton's great trail system. Fredericton is a very walkable city. The house that we started in, my house, we were in the basement, was right directly on a paved section of the walking trail. So when we were brewing, we could be looking at the trail, and we were thinking up a name is quite a difficult task, and we settled on Trailway, and just mostly inspired by Fredericton's wicked trail system. We did find it a little bit difficult to start a brewery in New Brunswick. Mostly the hardest part was convincing ourselves that it was viable and doable. We always kind of believed in ourselves, but we weren't really sure how the public was going to react to the hoppy style of beers that we were doing. Most of the beer that we were buying at the time was New England style beers, like very hoppy beers, which weren't necessarily available at the time in New Brunswick. So we weren't really sure how people were going to react to the hoppy styles of beers that we were doing, but once we got set up in the basement, it was very clear that people did like it. We were selling a lot of beer, and that was from that point it was just kind of a no-brainer to make this hobby into kind of full-time employment. Most of this for us, we had good, secure jobs, and it wasn't necessarily about the money. It was more so living a lifestyle that we took a hobby, something we did evenings and weekends through the week. Turning that into full-time work was it's been really fun. So I think something that is really important is that you got to be passionate about it. Don't necessarily do it for the money, because it's not always about that. So that's been huge in our whole transitioning plan here from being employed to being self-employed. So that's been very nice.